it's a major term. Like in all of modern 21st century, this is a major term. Born again. You must be born again. So what's the deal? And how does it relate to one thing? If wealth is the rich man's one thing, if achievement is Martha's one thing, then what's the one thing for Nicodemus? And I would propose to you, Jesus is telling Nicodemus, dude, you can't rely on your Jewish heritage, upbringing, religious family traditions to do this stuff for you. Your one thing is in essence depending on your family, on your religious upbringing. And I think for a lot of us, and I'll speak to this of my own experience. You know, I am Marilyn and Wallace Hickey's daughter. There was a season in my life when I used that golden ticket for all kinds of stuff. It was my one thing. And for some of us who have been raised in church, and we have a lot of religious upbringing, maybe we have 2 and 3, 4 generations of church background, sometimes we can let that stuff be our one thing and not be born again. And born again, this term in Greek is born from above. And if you look it up in Aramaic, it means born from the origin. What this means, family, is that my born from the origin, born from above, means that my core essence, who I am, comes from my heavenly Father, not just my earthly parents. But if I look at my earthly parents, my family upbringing, the religious background, all that stuff is my one thing, then I'm missing the point. Everybody has a one thing. Now, the last one I want to talk to is, of course, the renegade, right? And this is in John chapter 4. And this is the Samaritan woman at the well. Of course, you know I love this story. She's like my go-to, right? She's one of my favorite people in the whole Bible. And this is the conversation, and all these guys, they have conversations. 2 gentlemen and 2 women. They have conversations with Jesus. The receiver, the relator, the reverend, and the renegade. They all have conversations. But I want you to appreciate that Jesus, in the first conversation with each individual, in the first conversation, Jesus, so to speak, exposes or brings into the light their one thing. And so with the woman at the well, he asks her, this is John chapter 4, hey, give me a drink of water. And she's like, ooh, how is it that you, a Jewish man, ask a drink of water from me, a Samaritan woman? And Jesus doesn't just tell her, zip it. He has some conversation. But then what he does, and there's dialogue back and forth. You read it, and he's talking, and then she's asking a question, and he talks some more. She wants to know more. And then finally Jesus says, well, go and call your husband. Oh, here's the one thing. Because up to this point, this has been very conversational. You go back and do the word count in these back and forth discussions. There's lots of word count. She's all chatty, kind of talkative. Blah, 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 blah. But then when he mentions the word husband, she suddenly gets very terse. T-E-R-S-E, meaning concise and limited with her words. I have no husband. This is her one thing. And Jesus is like, you're right. You don't have a husband. In fact, you've had like 5 or 6, and the dude you're with now isn't your husband. You want to talk about one thing? How many can see what her one thing is? What do you think it is? It's relationships. It's her one thing. It's her thing that I can't seem to get over this hurdle, this obstacle. Whether it's your upbringing, your religious background, your birth, whether it's your achievements, whether it's your wealth. Everybody's got a one thing. And your one thing, Virgil, is probably a little bit different than my one thing. If you're watching online, I want you to think about what is your one thing. And I can appreciate that we want Jesus to be our one thing, and I do too. I completely do. But I also want us to acknowledge that Jesus wants to have a conversation with us. Conversation on whatever that one thing is for you. And we get to choose to continue that conversation. Because I like what Jesus says. He exposes the one thing, right? But you get to choose to continue the conversation. The